John Reeves. What is up, guys? How are we freaking doing today? It is me, John. You are on our channel, and I have today a freaking awesome guest, an amazing author. You guys might have seen him in the chats. He's been in chats a few times, and I've had like stage fright. I'm like, oh my god. Yes, Nightmare. Thank you so much, man. How you doing, brother? But this author needs absolutely no introduction. He's a freaking awesome dude, but we're gonna give him one anyways. Songbird with a freaking hello, scaring the shit out of me already. Nice, thank you for that. But yeah, Jamie L. Cruz, the author of Melodies of Life, Final Fantasy IX Retrospect and Analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me introduce. Welcome, freaking Jamie. How you doing, brother? Oh, and I'm still muted. Boom! And we're back. How you doing?
I was just like, I'm watching you just like loving the energy. I'm like, I wonder what he's saying.
It sounds so good. I'm over here. My arms are flailing. Just, yep. That's how it goes, man. Nice. Well, welcome, brother. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Heck yes, man. I'm serious. I've been like excited about this podcast for like a while now. Whenever I can't remember exactly who it was that kind of like maybe posted something of yours. It might have been like.
It was Mo.
That's what I was about to say. It might have been Mo.
Yeah, definitely. He helped me out a lot with pushing the word out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I think back in like late July, early August, which is when we got in touch.
Yeah, yeah.
So this has been a long time in the
right.
running.
I think like I think a lot of people might look at I know a lot of other podcast hosts that will be like, oh, like some stuff you're doing, let me get you on the podcast, and not really know your content. But like whenever, especially if it's an author, like if it's a band or something, I can kind of listen to it and look up some old stuff. But like, I mean, you've got this work of art, and like, I want to be able to consume it and talk to you about it. You know what I mean? And so yeah. But I appreciate it, man. It has been a while going on, and I'm glad we can finally schedule this. You're a busy man.
No worries. Like I'm totally on the same page as you. Like if you're going to talk about a book, like have both people read it, you know.
Yeah.
And then we can just pick it apart, shoot the shit, and yeah, just see where the energy takes us.
100%, man. I totally agree. So this book, I mean, it covers everything from literally the story arc to the music that's encompassed in the game. I mean, over 160 tracks. It covers everything. And even like the chapter that I'm currently reading back through on the existentialism in the book. How did this book come about?
Oh, that's a good question. Like this, I wrote this at the back end of last year. So we've just gone into lockdown again, at least over in the UK, at the beginning of November. And I used the NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month for non-writers, or if you haven't heard of it, to basically get this project going. But I've been making notes around Final Fantasy IX for like 2 years leading up to that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing it for. It was just like I kept playing the game at least once a year, and I was just like, oh, that, you know, I was always thinking about it and looking at new ways and looking for something that I hadn't seen before. And at the time I was still at university, and I thought, you know what, I might actually end up doing my dissertation around this.
Yeah.
I didn't in the end, but I was left with all these notes. I'm like, well, what do I do with them?
Yeah.
And you know, when COVID hit, I'm like, well, now I'm going to do something with them. I'd wrapped up at uni, and I'm like, right, new project, palette cleanser. I'm going to see what I can put together by basically fleshing out all these notes and trying to find like a book structure. And it came out in these personal essays.
Yeah.
And yeah, there was just a really nice flow to them. I thought, yeah, this is kind of a book.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, so are you saying like kind of the essay form that you were writing in at the time, is that like how you kind of got these chapters? And like the Who's the Bad Guy chapter, for instance, like would you go through and be playing the game and kind of like with that chapter in mind or with that idea in mind?
Sort of like it was a step away from like the more academic like stricter academic writing that I've been doing at university.
Yeah.
But it was more, I wanted it to have my personal voice in, so it was a blend of like my fiction approach with an academic topic. Well,
Yeah.
academic approach. So like it was quite, you've read it. The tone's quite casual, but like what's the word? It doesn't really skimp out on evaluation.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be breaking stuff down into layman's terms, but like presenting new angles. So like looking at who's the bad guys, looking at the story from both lenses. What was the villain intent? What was, what was the intent according to, Zidane and the heroes and stuff.
Yeah.
Adding things like a nihilistic angle and looking at it from that perspective. It's like, oh, okay, this is suddenly really interesting.
Yeah.
You got like with Zorn and Thorn, Bran and Garland. Like Garland, some of his dialogue is almost verbatim Nietzsche.
Oh yeah.
And like it wasn't until I was actually digging into this a little bit to see if there was any fucking like if it was founded in any way, or if it was just me going off on a crazy theory. There were a couple of lines, I think, from Spoke Zarathustra, that were like, it was a couple of words different, but it was like,
that is so
the
crazy,
dialogue's
though.
here.
Yeah.
There is a nihilistic influence to these characters, which was like, it blew my mind, because I'm like, this game is about celebrating life. What is going on?
It's such a crazy, like, and especially after you read your book and you find out how much how many different ideologies and just different stuff went into this game. Like, I know playing it whenever, what was it? I had to have been like early teens whenever I played this game. And I know like back then there's no way I would have grasped some of these concepts that they were talking about. I just remember it being a really fun game and kind of more almost like, at least as far as animation style goes, it was kind of more of the more like anime kidder, like childish almost in a sense, but it has such depth to it. It's like misleading almost.
Yeah, it's just like, at the surface level, it's like, oh, it's super deformed, it's chibi, it's childish.
Yeah.
And then you've got like, you've got Vivi just like, what does it mean to be alive at all? Like, how do I prove I exist? And you're just like, this game has no right to have this depth.
Yeah, for real. 100% agree with that, man. Like, I think that's one thing that I remember going back on. Like, my brother, he's like 2 years older than I am. And so I played Final Fantasy VII. We first got a PlayStation. I played 7, and he got Resident Evil. So, like, that was kind of like, he was like the more mature, edgier game. And I'm like, over here doing that. And he played 8 and loved 8. And then 9 came out, and he was like, it's too childish. And I remember just playing through the whole story of 9. It took me forever when I was a kid. And but yeah, man, I remember, like you said, I mean, Vivi, like, his character is just like, even then I was like, dang, it's pretty deep, pretty freaking deep.
Yeah, I think he's not so well known in the community, despite 9's changing status within the fan community. Like, Vivi is still like a staple character in the Final Fantasy roster for a good reason.
Yeah, it's probably got one of the most, like, some of the deepest things went into his character creation. I mean, it's crazy. Well, how did you first get introduced into the Final Fantasy series? And then was 9 one of your first introductions into it, or what did you play first?
My very first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core for the PSP.
Oh, nice.
That was,
dang.
Yeah. It's weird now thinking like that was 14 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where does the time go? I'd never played a Final Fantasy, but I had played the first couple of Kingdom Hearts games.
Oh, there you
go. So I'd been exposed to a couple of the characters. And I just remember I was staying with a friend, and an ad came on the TV for Crisis Core. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Right. Yeah.
And my friends at the time didn't give a shit. They were just like, oh, it's some of that Final Fantasy shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean Final Fantasy shit? Like, you tell me more.
What is this?
I ended up just being sold. I'm like, you know what? This looks cool. I have a PSP with basically no games. I had Jak and Daxter and Medal of Honor. I think that was it.
Oh, nice. There you go.
I mean, they weren't bad games, but also, once you've done them, you've done them. If you don't have friends to play co-op and stuff. So like I got this game and I was just blown away. I was just like, it had the similar immersion that I got from Kingdom Hearts, but on like a much grittier scale. And obviously introduced me to like characters like Cloud, Zack, Sephiroth, obviously. And the next logical step after that was obviously to play Final Fantasy IX.
Just go straight from Crisis Core into 9.
To 9.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I had a difficult period in my life shortly after I played Crisis Core, and I was gifted a copy of Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's why I ended up playing that. And it was one of the few games I actually had access to at the time. So I have a lot of memories attached to my first run of Final Fantasy IX.
That's awesome, though. Yeah.
But 7 was the next game I played after 9.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And similarly blew my mind for like different reasons.
I can only imagine your like shock from like ending freaking Crisis Core, and then whenever you finally did go back and play Final Fantasy 7, like I would probably be like, what is happening right now with these characters?
I'm glad that I actually played Crisis Core first, because I love Zack, and the ending kind of killed me. But it gave me like an immediate understanding and a grounding when I went into the original game. That like I know you're not meant to have it, and it's supposed to be a reveal later. That Cloud is remembering Zack's life rather than his own. But I'm not I wasn't the best gamer. I easily miss stuff. And I'm in for the story. I'm not looking for all the little side quests a lot of the time, especially back then. So like having that understanding, like the reveals made sense immediately, and I'm like, I love this. Show me more.
I must. Seriously, like you can ask anybody in the chat right now. Nobody comes to my stream for my gameplay. Like I am not a good video game player. I love them to death, but I am horrible at them. So like story games are my jams.
And like I was watching the streams for a while, and then when you start playing Tales of Arise, I had to click out and just stay away, because I'm like, I want to play this game, but when I can actually afford to drop the money for it, I'm not spoiling it for myself.
And that's the thing. Like I found a lot of the times whenever I stream like a brand new game, a lot of people would be like, hey dude, I'm gonna lurk, but I gotta bounce because I can't ruin the story. So, and I totally get it.
I had the same problem with like I only watch you and a couple other people on Twitch.
That's cool, man. Thank you.
No worries. And I think the other two both dropped the game that they were playing at the time to start playing Nier when that came out earlier this year.
I love that game.
I'm like, are you kidding? I didn't play the 2010 release. I love Nier Automata.
It's so
Automata,
good.
Sorry. It's one of my favorite games. And I was just like, I have to drop out. I can't watch anyone who I like to watch stream at the moment.
I'm telling you, like, whenever I played through Nier the first time, it really, for some reason, like, flew right under the radar with me. I had no clue that this game was, like, such a masterpiece. And I played through it the first time, and my friend Tommy the Headphones Breaker was in my chat, just, like, kind of trolling me whenever I died a lot. And then I finally beat the boss, and he's like, hey, by the way, that's like one of 27 endings. You've got to play through the game a ton more. I was like,
we're talking Automata, right?
So man, like trying to platinum that game has been like an on and off love-hate relationship that I've had for the better part of a year now.
It takes real commitment. I don't think I've platinumed it. I got 100% of everything in the game. So like you're in the in-game menu, it says it's 100% done. But I haven't gotten all the trophies. But I was also like, you can buy all the trophies, so does it matter?
Exactly. It's just
I mean, that's a really neat feature. Like being able to buy game trophies in the game.
It is so weird that they've got that. But yeah, I mean, I totally like it. It's different. It's different.
It's just Yoko Taro sending another message like, your accomplishments mean nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. Now here's the whispers, and we're deleting your history. Man. But man. So your first start with Final Fantasy IX, like I remember vividly, like there's some memories for me whenever I first was playing through that game, and I think like Linkin Park or something. Like the Faint album just came out around the same time, I think. And
hybrid theory, yeah,
it was
hybrid theory,
it Hybrid Theory, or maybe I just was late to the party probably. But I remember
maybe.
listening through like Linkin Park album the whole time. So I like really would like play music, play a video game, and but I know that you were talking about like in the book you kind of grew up with like a different style of musical taste. Would and do you feel like any of that like kind of bled into like video game music for you?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure. Like, I go into it in the introduction, like my introduction to knowing what Final Fantasy
Mm-hmm.
was as an entity was through hearing a couple of tracks from the
Mm-hmm.
games. I think it was 1,000 Words from Final Fantasy X-2
Such a good
and the
song.
main theme from Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the time, I was getting into heavier and heavier music, so not like I don't know, super heavy, but like I was
Yeah.
definitely getting into glam, heavy metal, and
Yeah.
like 80s bands
Yeah.
basically,
There you go.
and getting a bit in the punk scene as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was this, and then there was this, you know, this, orchestra music basically,
Yeah.
or and I was just like, I didn't understand anything I had to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to the opening theme of Final Fantasy VII, and you're just hit by waves of nostalgia if you
So
play Final
much.
Fantasy
Yeah.
VII.
Yeah.
There's so much in that track,
Mm-hmm.
but without even having played it, I was just like, this is resonating with me, and I don't understand why.
What is happening? Yeah. I
Yeah,
totally agree.
and it's hardly like Alice Cooper, Motley Crue,
Mm-hmm.
Aerosmith, that sort of stuff that I was getting into. It's completely different.
No, 100%
And
different. Yeah.
going back to Nier, like I love the score for both Nier
Mm-hmm.
games, um, and it's nothing like my regular music taste outside of video games.
Isn't that so weird? Like, in something for me, like I was really into music, I guess, from an early age. Like I remember getting, dude, a Rod Stewart cassette tape for Christmas one year, and that was like my first like really getting into music. But when Final Fantasy VII, whenever I listened to the music for that game, well, as I was playing through it, it really got me into almost like a more technical side of music, where like I mean, any like the Genova theme that's playing with
Mm,
Hojo and stuff, like that
yeah,
music is insane, dude. And I think somewhere in the back of my mind that just stuck with me how technical that was. And now for some reason I just grew up and really got into like progressive metal. And I feel like it's because of the writing styles of the music from the Final Fantasy games. I don't
that's so
know.
cool.
Maybe that's why it is. But I don't know. I think so for us, maybe it was like the exact opposite almost. Like I got into the Final Fantasy games and the music has inspired me to where I am now with music, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas music has led me to where I am in video games, which is JRPGs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild, man. It's wild. Well, being a content creator now in the Final Fantasy world, how have you been received, I guess, with the other Final Fantasy content creators?
That's it's kind of slow. Like I didn't really start pushing
Mm-hmm.
with social media for a while. Like the book came out at the end of January.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of sales were generated through word of mouth. So
Mm-hmm.
I told a few people. Uh, I've been really bad with actually verbally marketing my book. My friends would be like, "Oh, what's it called?" I'll buy a copy. I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't like Final Fantasy. Don't waste your money." But tell your
Nice.
friends that do like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, buy
Right.
it. Um, some of them bought copies anyway, and they've been very sweet. But it's I realized that I had to start kind of pushing when a friend pointed out to me, "Oh, there's this Final Fantasy page that is posting pictures of your book,
Oh, that's
and a lot
awesome.
of people are asking questions about it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Awesome! I completely missed that."
How
So I was
did
just
this
like,
happen? Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, "Oh well, the author is dropping in now, and responding to questions and stuff, and just saying thank you." And I
That's
realized,
cool,
oh,
man.
this connection is kind of important,
Yeah.
which is where Mo came in. He was giving me a lot of tips for building my Twitter account, you know, getting a bit more presence there. We did a couple of giveaway events. But like generally the reviews have been in short supply but good.
That's what yeah, like
which I will take. The people that have had something to say have said good things.
Yeah, I've gone through your reviews, man. I mean, like, and Mo's one of the people in there. Like, that's awesome. And I will say this, like, Mo is kind of more in the Final Fantasy VII realm of the Final Fantasy content creators. And
yes,
you're one of the very few. There's not as many Final Fantasy IX content creators out there that are just like exclusively in Final Fantasy IX. It's weird to me.
I mean, that was a big part of why I decided to actually look at publishing this, was because you know, I love Nine, and if there was a book about Nine in any capacity, whether from an academic or personal, or even just like an expanded guide that wasn't the piece of shit Play Online guide, I'd be all over it. And the thing is, it just didn't exist at the time. And the funny thing is, I think a couple of months after I published this, Third Editions, which is a French publishing company that do a Legend of series for video games, they released the Legend of Final Fantasy IX. And I'm like, oh, now a book exists.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think at the moment there's in English, and at any rate, I think there's only the 2 books written exclusively about Final Fantasy IX.
Is that not insane? It's crazy for me to think that. I don't know, especially when you look through the other catalogs. Even 8's got some content creators.
8's got some stuff.
Yeah. It's wild, man.
6 definitely has. I mean, Boss Fight Books recently put out a book. Seb Decken did a book about Final Fantasy 6. That's really good, especially if you're interested in the music side. Because he comes at it from a musical theory perspective, and it's like, I have next to no understanding when it comes to music theory, as you'll probably realize from reading my attempt in the book. But you know, it was accessible enough that I could understand it, and then just go, wow, that's good insight.
That's almost like, I will say your book does the exact same for Final Fantasy IX. For anybody that hasn't played it, can read your book and like feel like they're still getting that story, and in like a me and you talking way. So like, I don't know. I think you did a really good job in that as well too. So
thank you. I mean, that has been fairly like universal. People are like, this is a good summary. I'm like, you know what? I had so much fun writing that. And I'm so glad that it is. And it comes across exactly as you said. Like, imagine a friend who's super into this game is explaining to you what's going on, but in a like, you have 5 minutes to talk kind of way. Like, right, broad strokes, let's go.
And I mean,
we've got 40 hours to cover and 5 minutes to talk.
In a very, very good way of that. And like, too, I mean, for me, man, like I really get into like some independent publishing, like independent books, and some of them that have chapters half the length of the book are so hard to read and really digest everything that's happening in those chapters. And you break yours up, like you said, like almost in those like 5 minute like intervals, and like it makes it a lot easier for you to really consume and like digest what you're actually reading. You know, I like it. And One Wing Emma said, Final Fantasy IX is so underrated. It's an absolute gem. But she is checking your book out now, I think. Hopefully the link that I posted in chat, that goes to your Amazon UK with the Melodies of Life. So anybody that does want to check it out. Click it.
I mean, if there's, you know, it's available on all Amazon regions. I think my pinned post on my Twitter account has US, UK, Spanish, German, and either Australian or Canadian Amazon. It's available everywhere.
There you go, man. Amazon. And actually just
Google.
It's awesome. So I got yours in a paperback, but I am a hardcover nerd, and I just saw that you had a hardcover release. I'm like, dang it. So I'm probably going to have to go grab myself a hardcover very soon.
Do it, man. Like, funny story with that. I mean, I don't know how well known it is about Amazon's hardcover self-publishing stuff. Like, that hardcover only exists because I think a couple of months after this came out, Amazon was sending out messages to self-published authors saying, "Oh, we're beta testing the hardcover version of self-publishing."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Oh, sod it, yeah, let's make a hardcover version because it makes sense to do it after the paperback's out." But whatever.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And like, without getting into it, because the whole financial side, like Amazon takes a bigger cut of the hardcovers because they cost more to print.
Yeah.
So it was just like, well, to make any real money from this, like I'd have to charge like 15, 16 quid plus. And I'm like, who wants I didn't do this to rip people off and say, spend stupid amounts of money to read something that, someone on YouTube might be able to cover in, an hour segment or whatever. I was just like, no, it's supposed to be affordable. It's supposed to be creating the thing that I wanted to exist before I wrote it,
Yeah, exactly.
So like I didn't really push it, and I was just like, you know what, if people are interested and if they want hardcover, they can pay a little extra for the hardcover. But ultimately, it was just like, if you're interested in this content, it exists, and you can pay as much as you like for whatever form of it you like. So I didn't push the hardcover too much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But for future, now that it exists, it'll be like, okay, hardcover comes out first. People who are really, as you say, like you, who really want the hardcover edition.
I don't know
like,
why
yeah, that comes out first. And then if people don't want to pay so much for a hardcover, it's like wait a couple of months. Paperback is available.
Is that something that you can control like that? Like you can just kind of like on and off on which ones you want to do?
So when you self-publish, you independently set up each format. So you'll set up the Kindle version, the paperback, the hardcover, and you can set their release dates.
Oh, that makes sense.
Annoyingly, the formatting for each one is slightly different as well, so it gives you a little extra time to roll them out.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't know about, like the self-publishing side of things. There's a lot more that goes in the book than just writing it and being like, there you go, Amazon, here's this Word doc, have fun. Like
I spent as much time editing, putting the cover together and trying to get it to format correctly as I did almost as much time as I did writing.
Oh my god,
the book.
I can understand, man. I could definitely see. Who did your the cover art?
That was me.
Yes, nice.
I had a total nightmare with getting an artist involved. I had 2 drop out on me. The last one really close to when I wanted to release the book.
Oh, that's rough.
And yeah, I just thought, okay, I'm either gonna have to delay this quite a way, while I find someone who hopefully will do something that I can afford, because at the time I had no money. And I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. Let's see how bad it is and work up from there. And I took a stock image. I started creating silhouettes and stuff. I was playing with the visual effects and the textures, and this is kind of what I came up with. And it was just like, this, without encroaching on copyright and stuff from Square Enix, because I don't really want to be told as soon as the book goes live, stop.
Not happening. Yeah, you can sell it, but you can't make money.
Exactly. It's like, okay, silhouettes, so not play characters. And if you look at the back cover, you can see a little windmill. It's not the windmill from Dali, but like at the same time, the sort of time of day and the fields and the windmill, it's just like, and the four main characters as well. It's like, this is at the point they're sort of arriving at Dali. It says Final Fantasy without being explicitly,
100%, man.
Squeenix IP, and that's the best I could do. So that's what we ended up with.
That's wild. Like, anybody that doesn't know, this is what his cover looks like. And like, seriously, self-publishing 100%. Then, like, you did all of this completely.
Yeah,
that is awesome, dude. God. So yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like a lot of people know like how much really genuinely goes in with the self-publishing aspect of it, beyond just being able to have the capacity to write that book in the first place. That's huge, man. My God. Nicely done, sir. Well,
thank you.
Do you have other works that are going on right now that that you can tell us about?
I do. I guess I could give you a sneak peek. So it's November again. So this time last year I was writing this book, and I've decided to start a new project.
Mm-hmm.
Again, using NaNoWriMo as the jump off. So it's like 50K in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big bulk of a book like this. I
Well, there
mean,
you go.
Melodies of Life is, I think, 52,000 words, which means
God,
relatively little, I
yeah.
guess. But like, it's about 200 pages,
Mm-hmm.
210,
Yeah.
whatever. But you can get the bulk of that done in 30 days if you've planned for it, if you've structured your notes and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I'm currently doing that, and I've been prepping for it through October for a book on Kingdom Hearts to celebrate the 20th anniversary of that franchise next year.
Oh my God. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and like I'm super psyched about it. And like I sit down and write. I've been keeping at it. I'm keeping to my writing goals every day, and trying to find time. You know, as soon as I'm out of work, I'm like, right, I need to write 1,700 words minimum.
Oh my God.
And I need to continue playing through the game so I can refresh myself and have it, all of the games fresh in my mind. Because if you're familiar with Kingdom Hearts, you'll know there's like 12 games now.
Yeah.
And it's just like this, you know, writing a book in 6 weeks is fine for one game, but to cover 12, I'm starting to, you know, we're almost halfway through the month now, and I'm like, this was ambitious.
It's a pretty huge project. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit bigger, but again, delivered in a similar format. So
that's going to be awesome.
A breakdown of the entire timeline.
Yeah.
And then a sort of an evaluation of themes, characters, relationships, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's designed to be a good companion for those who have played most or all of the games, but also a really good catch-up guide for people who are like haven't played them all, or have sort of, you know, not had the consoles, or just like, you know what, I'm too old now. I don't want to play that.
Yeah.
But tell me what happened.
Yeah. Someone just break it down for me. Well, I mean, so you're saying pretty much essentially the entire Kingdom Hearts saga that we've seen so far in book form? Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's the Dark Seeker saga, so the whole Xehanort plan, with the addition of the plots of Union Cross and Dark Road, the mobile gacha games.
Oh my God.
Well, that didn't sound very positive at all, did it?
But no, that's insane though. It's going to cover so much.
Yeah, I've just been tangling with breaking down the plot of those mobile games very recently. And I don't know if you've played them, but Unchained Key or Union Cross is broken down into almost 1,000 playable episodes.
Oh my God. Whoa. That is going to be...
And it is one of the most convoluted messes ever. And, you know, until that came out, like, you know, Dream Drop Distance comes out, and I'm like, okay, I can kind of understand why people are getting annoyed with struggling with following what's going on.
Yeah.
And the introduction of new rules and stuff. This comes along, and I'm like, I understand you. I love Kingdom Hearts, but I will never, ever recommend anyone play this now.
You just need to have a disclaimer over that chapter. Do not play this game. Just read
it's just like, you know what? Maybe you don't want to play this game. Maybe you don't want to spend your money on gacha stuff. Like there is a movie sort of adaptation that kind of does the story justice, but doesn't. So it's just like, yeah, okay, for those people, because there are plenty of people I know that like enjoy Kingdom Hearts. They're just like, I can't get into this. Like, it's not enjoyable for me. It's whatever. So it's like, okay, look, give me 10 pages of your time. I will sum up everything.
Dude, that is awesome though. Well, do you have an idea of, like, I guess, size that this book is going to be? Are we looking at like a Dune type thing where it's going to be more pages
not
than
that big. Like, I think if it gets to that big, it's like, okay, this is something else, and I need to rethink like what's going in. It's meant to be. It's going to be bigger than Melodies of Life, but I think maximum double the size. So we're looking at 420 pages or less, and a lot of, you know, a big chunk of that is going to be a chronological timeline. Like, in how much of this is actually the summary breakdown? I think it's like 30-40 pages, isn't it?
I have to give you this because somebody just said, look at that raven-haired, lustrous Rapunzel. And I have never heard of anybody getting that big of a compliment on here. Thank you for that.
Raven-haired, lustrous Rapunzel, I think, replaces the favorite thing anyone's actually referred to me as, which was previously the other day, I was in I work at a bar, and
Nice.
one of our regulars just goes, you're a thick, gorgeous himbo. You know that.
Yes, dude. You gotta write these down.
I have never been called any of those things before, much less by a 50-year-old dude.
Oh, that's even better. That's like a tombstone quality thing right there. Like just here lies. And then, yeah, Bropunzel
now
is
it's
probably...
been trumped. It's been trumped. Ravenhead, sorry, I've forgotten it already, and it's better.
It's
Ravenhead,
Lustrous Bropunzel.
Bropunzel.
It's pretty good. That's some yeah. There you go. I don't know how you came up with that, but I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Tangled, so that'll do. I'll take that.
That'll do. Yes, I like it.
Forget Flynn Rider. I'm Bropunzel now.
Yeah, exactly. There you are. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome,
Thank you,
baby mama. Nice. So, sorry, I didn't mean to totally throw you off, but I just once I read that, I was like, that's the greatest thing ever. That was so good. But so future projects, Kingdom Hearts, that is a massive undertaking that you're doing. And do you have kind of like, I guess like a end date goal or like?
Yeah. So like in terms of size, I'm hoping that I can keep it at 80K or less. Okay. So less than double word count of Melody of Life. So it should turn out somewhere between 300 and 400 pages. I want to get that done ideally by, if things go well, end of December, but it's a very busy month and a lot can happen. So maybe mid-January. I need time for editing and stuff. So I want it really out as early in 2022 as I can, sort of ahead of official releases from Squeenix, because who wants to buy a self-published author's book about something when Squeenix will have a lot of official merch probably coming out immediately after.
It's gonna be a crazy coming up year, I think, for Square and stuff. But
oh yeah,
100%. Do you feel like with like all the things that you've learned through Melodies of Life and the publishing of that, do you feel like the self-publishing of this is going to be a lot smoother? And were there some lessons that you learned when self-publishing your first book that you're going to apply to this one?
Definitely. I think getting a fresh set of eyes on it sooner will probably help. I didn't really get a set of a couple of, there's a couple of people I had base read were very late in the day, which was stressful for getting it, the book ready for publication date once I'd set the actual release date. So that is something I'm taking away. The other thing I'd say is actually pushing the word out sooner, because, although the book came out in January, like in terms of sales, it was almost nothing until about May. And then it just went off the charts.
Heck yeah, man.
And that was basically through people talking about it on social media and posting pictures of them with my book. And I'm like, this is insane. Why is this happening?
Yeah, there you go, man.
And it was, I think it's just getting people excited and taking advantage of the community that I'm building up on social media and being like, hey, you like similar things to me, otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. Here's this thing that's coming out soon, like support me, buy this, enjoy this. Capitalism,
right? Yes. I'll say so. Like something that I really like about your selection of what you're choosing to write and publish about has been like Kingdom Hearts is something that kind of almost like, I'm not going to say like it ascends Final Fantasy in the sense of like it's better than or less than or anything like that, like not comparing them in that way, but I know people that don't play any Final Fantasy games that still know and love Kingdom Hearts. And I feel like there's just a fan base there that is within the Final Fantasy community, still loves Kingdom Hearts, and then just pulls from just any random gamers can really get into that too. So I don't know, man. Cheers to you for like thinking of these different things that aren't just like kind of overdone or oversaturated markets. You're kind of digging up new territory, man.
Thanks. That's cool. That's kind of nice to hear, because that's the aim really, is putting out content that doesn't exist yet, and it's affordable and it's accessible.
Yeah.
Like, it's something for the community, and for me, it's fun, but it also makes a little money, and they're writing credits that might eventually come in handy at some point.
Hey, there you go, man. And I'm telling you, like I think some of the people that that you're associated with like on Twitter and everything now, like your freaking network is just growing so much. And I think that's like you said, it took a couple of months before your book actually got a couple of purchases and stuff. This one's just gonna freaking probably have some hard times keeping it on the shelves, So I think it'd be awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Man.
But I owe you some thanks there, because like you really helped with spreading the word. Sharing posts about the book, about whenever we were doing a giveaway event. You and Mo have been. Yeah, I don't know where I'd be without you. I'd probably almost be selling nothing.
No, dude. Yeah, well, thank you. But yeah, I don't know, man. Once I saw Mo, actually, like you said, like once I saw one of his things, I was like, I loved 9, and I had just gone through and I did a playthrough of it maybe like a couple of months before I read your book, and before I saw that post from Mo, and I was like, dude, I have got to read this because I love the game, and there's a lot of people that like it that come in our stream, but like as far as like IRL friends that I can talk to about it, there's not as many people, and it's cool.
I know that feeling. Like I know, I think 2 other people, maybe 3, that have actually played through the game and actually can have a conversation about it, but they're just not as invested.
Yeah, exactly.
I have thought about this in so many ways. I've played it so many times. You know that Always Sunny meme of Charlie in front of all the notes and the red string. Like that's me with this game. Like, have you thought of this?
Dude, I'm telling you, I feel like if you and Mo sat down and had like a legit conversation, like I don't know if he really has deep dove into 9 or not, but like you guys share a very similar look on 2 different games. It's awesome. I talked to him about it. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Go. I was gonna say, I have massive respect. Like his book on Norse mythology in Final Fantasy VII was just like, okay, it's a little more straight-laced than my style, but also he's packing a lot of information in basically layman's terms, so anyone can understand it. It's so accessible, and like coming to it with a little bit of understanding and appreciation for Norse mythology myself. It was just like, this is nuts. This is so well thought out, well structured, well presented. Yeah, it was just like, it felt like a different league. Whereas I'm just like, hey, look at the cute game that makes us think about death.
Well, look, I will say this, like, I get exactly what you're saying. With Mo's book, it's like very polished, and he's got a very polished book, and but like you go back and look at some of his early work as well too, because like Melodies of Life, consider your early work right now, and your next book's just gonna keep getting better. And like, I'm not like the writing style, you can't even like almost compare either of y'all's writing styles because they're totally different. Like yours is a very it's an easier read, and I don't mean that in like in a downgrading way at all. I just mean that it's like it's more accessible. Yeah, it's me and you talking. And with Mo's book, as much as I love that book, I love it to death, and I'm not like comparing the two, but like with Mo's, I had to look up words, which is challenging, and I liked it. And I was like, yes, what does this mean? Who is this? So like, it was cool to read it like that too, but they're just completely different styles.
Yeah,
and I genuinely
very
like
different
both
texts. Yeah, I'd never compare them, but at the same time, I've got massive respect and admiration for what Mo does.
Yeah, heck yeah. But I would love to see you guys like just have a conversation about like doing this, but about like one game together, because like y'all would freaking have 2 Charlie boards, and it would be nuts. It would be awesome.
I mean, there may be some crossover at some point. I mean, there is a little bit of a tendency for Squaresoft, Square Enix, sorry, to use mythology from our world to influence like names and stuff like that. Wow, my mouth has just stopped working.
Hey, it happens.
You know what I mean? They use mythology within their games, and that spreads across all of them, including 9. So
Yeah.
Once he's gone through all of them for 7, maybe he'll go up or down the chain. If he goes down, I've got a long wait. But...
For real, cheers with the remasters. You never know. You never know. The time is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so if you had another Final Fantasy title in your crosshairs, which one would that be that you would like to write about?
Oh, I know this already. I am going to have to whittle this down eventually, but it's between Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy 15.
15. I like it.
15 is a controversial one.
It is.
Which kind of is the draw to me, because I'm just like, oh, there's a pot to stir.
Yes, I like it.
But like that, without getting into it too much, like that game, it's impossible to talk about reasonably without admitting its flaws, and it is a flawed game.
Yes.
But like ultimately, where the story comes from and the interactions between the characters and the character development itself is phenomenal. I love, do I want to go camping with the boys? Every time. Oh, I know what happens to you. Don't care. I will suffer.
yeah, exactly. I totally agree, man. Like, I remember getting that game. I got the collector's edition, like night it released. I was so stoked. I was like, yes. And I loved the game, like all the way through, and then just the ending. It was just that's where it lost me. So maybe I'm more like, persistent or just stubborn about it. And I was like, yes, I loved every moment of it until it just seemed rushed, I guess,
I 100% have sympathy, and I understand where people are coming from when they're like, the ending, it doesn't live up to the beginning of the game. It's set up so well. And, let's be real. The criticism is once you journey to Altissia to, not just things, get married. Yeah. The game kind of gets into a very streamlined. The story goes into a pipe. Yeah. And you follow that corridor, which is a criticism of several other Final Fantasy games. But
13.
13, yes. Jesus Christ. I'm don't get me started on 13. I'm not. I have recently started playing those games and pushing myself to finish them purely so I can make an informed decision, and it's not been a fun experience.
A lot of our chat is asking, where is your accent from? It is incredible, is what everybody's saying here. So we got some Jamie fans. We got some Jamie fans in chat.
You have no idea how often I get asked this, and I don't understand it. Like, I did a shift at a different bar the other day to help out a friend, and there was this French couple sitting at a table, and they pulled me over and said, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Well, I'm from London. I grew up in Peterborough, this city, north of London, East Midlands, UK. But my mother's Portuguese." And he goes, "Oh, okay. You don't sound Portuguese." I'm like, "I sound American, don't I?" He's like, "Yeah, you do. Canadian, actually." I'm like, "Oh, that's a new one. I haven't heard Canadian before."
Yeah.
But yeah, I get that a lot. I don't know if it's influence from TV or something. I didn't watch a huge amount of TV growing up, but like some. I have no idea, but yeah, my accent confuses people, and it's wonderful. Right. I also have a very familiar face. It confuses people. Like everybody's like, you look like no one I know, but you look like someone I know.
Are you my cousin? Yeah. Like, man, I don't know what it is, but seriously, I grew up in the South, like so really South United States, and everybody here talks like kind of has like a country talk like this. And they're like, "Where are you from?" And always ask me this. And I'm like, "I'm from the sticks, dude. Like, I was born in the sticks. I don't know why I talk like this. So I guess, like, I get where you're coming from." It's funny, though. I haven't heard that from somebody totally different, though.
Yeah. Like, that's encouraging. It must be like a collection of, like, inflections, mannerisms, all these different things put together. And it's just like, well, you don't sound like everyone else from this place. And it's like, good.
Yeah. Anytime somebody is like, "You're not from Tennessee, are you?" I'm like, "Actually, I am, but thank you for saying so." Because like, I don't know. I like the fact Where would you say I sound like I'm from? Do you have it like?
Oh, dude, I'm crap with accents.
Me
I
too.
don't know.
My wife,
I
yeah,
don't
Jody
know.
said she sounds Southern. She's like super Southern accent. It's pretty thick, but in a cute way.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't help that I'm geographically challenged. So you ask me, it's like pick somewhere pick a state. Tell me which cardinal direction it is. I fucking don't know.
Right? Yeah.
I know you're under Canada, and
somewhere
then there's a
under
lot of different states.
I wonder how,
That's my
like,
knowledge.
yeah, I've always wondered how people look at the United States. Are they like, oh, Tennessee, I know where that is, of course. Like, probably not. Probably not. I guess, like, me with, like, if you were like, where's Chile at on this map? I'd be like, look, I have no clue. Yep.
Oh, maybe that's a sign that we're too engrossed in our stories. It's just like,
Yeah.
give me a map of Gaia and point to a random spot. I'll tell you what the nearest town is.
Yeah.
You know, show me a map of the world I fucking live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know.
Yeah. But show me where like a freaking world map on like a video game. I could be like, oh no, it's like down this way. You're a little too north. Go a couple clicks down. You're good. My Egyptian friend thought that we were all cowboys. I guess you guys, I mean, maybe we are all cowboys, Jody.
So cowboys to be. That's the real calling that we're missing here.
Yeah, all of America is cowboys. I mean, it could be that way, Jody, if only we could rise to the occasion. I feel like there's cows to wrestle out there. You just
all we're missing are horses.
Yes.
We get horses and we're good to go.
If Tesla would just start making a horse. If Tesla would just make us horses, I think we'd be good.
That's it. I want one hybrid horse, please.
Yeah. Well, all right. I got another question for you, and this one's gonna be a doozy. You've got some other works, in like Shadows and Ash, and so you've done some fiction and nonfiction that seem to like kind of linger a little bit more towards the horror side of stuff with Stroker's vampirism, and so it kind of has that horror theme. What would you say, like, outside of video games, what type of horror are you into?
Oh, someone's done their research. They've gone on my website.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, like, I'm not massively into horror. I am a big Stephen King fan.
Oh, yes.
So there is that. But like in terms of, the essay I did on vampires,
on the vampires.
Let's try that again. On Stoker's vampirism.
Yeah.
That was something that I worked on while I was at university.
Cool.
So Dracula and The Turn of the Screw by Henry James was set texts for Gothic literature. I had read no Gothic literature at this point, so those were my introductions. And I was sort of taken with the sort of imagery that vampirism represented, especially at sort of like this early stage. Dracula was one of the first few, wasn't the first, but very early texts that sort of bring up the undead. I think it coined the term Nosferatu.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was just like, what does this say about society? And this is kind of what brought it to like sort of highbrow attention. This sort of fear of savagery and stuff, and masking it as an undead threat. Initially, I wanted to title that essay. I've got an annotated sheet somewhere when I was drafting it, and I think it's just called "Sexy Dead Things." Stoker's threat on society, something like that. And I was just like, yeah, I probably shouldn't submit it with this title.
I'm just saying that's a title. That is a title you want to read. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I took the angle of sort of like repressed Victorian women's positions, and how sort of heightened sexuality or desire was seen as sort of monstrous and undesirable. And it could only be expressed once they'd been turned.
Yeah.
Which is why all the vampires under Dracula are female, why the first human that gets turned is Lucy, and like the prominent feature is sort of like this lust, not just bloodlust, but this actual sexual lust. So like I looked at it from a very psychodynamic point of view.
Yeah.
And I did a very similar thing for The Turn of the Screw, but I don't think I have an extract of that on my website.
I didn't see it on there, but
that's where they come from. Like I like
awesome,
picking apart text from like weird angles. So that's an example of that. I mean, again, I read, like my video games, I read very eclectically. So I read a bit of this, bit of that.
Yeah, that's a good way to be about it, though, man. It's Renaissance, you know. Kind of get a little bit of
that took me down memory lane. I completely wasn't expecting that. Like,
yes.
So this essay that you wrote a few years ago at university, what's the deal?
We're gonna pull up the old wiki page, and we actually have your old MySpace. So we're going through MySpace.
Oh, I've got you covered there. I know I don't have a MySpace account.
Oh, dang it, man! I wish I didn't
get hooked. I didn't get hooked up to social media until peer pressure really kicked in when I was about 14. So
there you go.
What was that? 2007, I think. 2006, 2007, something like that. And I started with Facebook. I didn't have anything before that. So
dang. See, like I was playing music and putting out music on MySpace, and it was horrible. And I think you might even still be able to find it somewhere. I don't know how to find it myself, but
I hear rumors when people say, "Oh, I found so and so's MySpace account." I'm like, "Oh, that exists."
Yeah, man. I'm telling you. So that's a dark age you skimmed over really well. Then I'm glad. You know, I'm gonna go in and fire all my research assistants. You guys hear that? I don't know exactly what Boba's baby mama is saying here. She said, "Okay, picture this: Mr. Cruz and that trident and one scrunchie versus Dracula. Who wins?" I think. Hold on.
By trident, is she referring to, or who is she referring to the Keyblade?
I think so. Now I'm getting it. Yeah.
There you go.
See, I picked up on the Keyblade. That's why I was like, trident, what? By the way, awesome Keyblade. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go.
This is Dracula. Dracula dies to wood, and that thing's made of wood.
Oh.
So it's not a steak, but it's better.
We got Mr. Cruz on the win on that one. I feel like he's going to take the victory. But yeah, man. So I was going to ask about future goals, but we already got to talk about. So Kingdom Hearts, kind of, we're doing a retrospect analysis type book on that, possibly on the entire series, which is huge, man. That is a huge undertaking. Are you getting any help from other authors?
No.
No. There you go.
I mean, a lot of this is kind of testing myself and developing my own writing ability. So like this is, you know, a fairly big step up in terms of the sheer volume of work that I'm trying to condense. But I feel it's sort of a natural progression. It's like, okay, if I can do this with one, can I do this with a series now?
Yeah.
How far down can I condense something but still really clearly articulating points? You know, how many fresh points of view can I introduce to something that has been around for 20 years in so many different forms? And that, you know, there is 9 is one thing, but Kingdom Hearts, I think, is a little less niche. Yeah, there is a real strong fan presence, as you said. So it's like, what is worth writing in this book that people will want to read and form their own opinions from, that they haven't already heard before or thought of themselves? I mean, a big draw. Well, one of the big decisions I made going into it from the planning was, you know, what I see is, from official Square Enix stuff and from documents put together by fans, like the summary of the games is usually done by release order versus chronological order. And I'm thinking, I see the issues with doing a chronological timeline because there's a lot of concepts that need to be introduced at the right time. Certain reveals by the release of games have their effect purely because that it's new information at that point. But I think, especially with the release of Union Cross for the mobile, and now that we've sort of concluded at Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, the Xehanort saga is now a closed loop. I think it's possible to introduce enough terminology throughout Union Cross and Birth by Sleep that the remainder of the timeline will make sense. I have a contingency plan if it doesn't. But what I'm trying to do is put together a decent chronological timeline that even someone who has never played the games before and is unfamiliar with terminology will be able to pick up and understand.
That's going to be huge, man, for real. I think that's a massive selling point for the book, just for anybody to read it. That's huge. Because it's I mean, like, I can only imagine how much time you're putting into the research of it. Like, playing through even just 1 through 3, like, is a massive undertaking. And you're adding a lot more to that. So that's going to be huge, man.
Yeah. It doesn't help. I keep getting distracted because, like, you know, I look at trophies and stuff. I'm like, what trophies do I stop missing?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, why am I making this more difficult for myself? I have a limited amount of time that I've set for myself to play these games.
Yeah.
And I've just decided to just go off on a tangent. Like, I finished Chain of Memories today.
Oh, nice.
And I realized that the last 2-3 hours I put into it were purely just going and looking for additional cards to unlock secret rooms. I'm like, that doesn't help me. Why is this helping me? I've done this before. Yeah. Why am I doing this?
I mean, you know, that's one of the perks, though, dude. That's one of the perks of being able to write about something like this that's like you're passionate about. And I mean, I don't know. Could you imagine trying to research this much time into a topic that you were like not wanting to go through and do some extra stuff? Be rough, man.
Yeah, it's way more of a drag, but in a way, like, on the flip side, like, over the course of, like, you know, going through school and stuff, like, you have to write essays about shit that you don't care about. And for me, it was always easier because it's like, right, wait until the last minute when you know there's your back's against the wall. It's like, okay, I got 2 days to write this. Do it in a sitting.
Yeah.
There you go. And it sounds callous, and like I realized that, you know, I had a little bit of writing ability when I was able to get away with that quite often. And it wasn't until, like, you know, I was almost done with university. I'm like, oh, I really need to actually start applying myself and seeing what I can do, because it's too easy to get a pass.
Yeah.
And that's not why I'm here. I'm here to sort of push myself,
really?
and I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, honestly, that the back against the wall, no time left to procrastinate sounds like a very good strategy for being able to accomplish things that you're setting out for. Because, man, if I know I've got all the time in the world, I'm just like, well, I can go to the gym, or I can go do this, or I could try to trophy hunt for a little while. But if you're, you know, if your back's in the wall and you're like, I've got to make this date, that makes it a lot more productive.
Yeah, like, unless you've got that daily discipline, or weekly, or whatever kind of regimen that you have, like, you can go day by day and, like, I will do this tomorrow. Tomorrow a friend calls, or, you know, someone goes to hospital or whatever. Like, anything could happen the next day, and you're like, well, that's a fair excuse. I couldn't help that, and I'll do it tomorrow. And you push it on indefinitely. Like, you need to have that kind of, like, if you're putting something together, like, you know, it's no different from when you stream. It's like, if you tell people you're going to stream, and they expect you to stream every week, you're like, right, I need to have an idea of what I'm doing, or at least be prepared to go on and stream for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Like, you can't just, like, bail out and expect people to just be like, that's fine, see you next week.
Exactly.
Over and over. And, you know, I'm in a writing workshop with some of the people I went to,
that's cool,
did my master's course with, and they're the exact same. Like, I've taken November out as a break, so I'm like, guys, I'm not working on a fiction project right now. I need time for myself. You guys handle the workshop, but, like, generally, like, they appreciate coming to the workshop, and they've been coming to it for, like, just over a year now, year or two. Time's funny with COVID.
For real though, man.
But, like,
oh my gosh.
They're like, yeah, I can't reliably write week to week if I don't have a deadline.
And
it's that back against the wall thing. It's like, no, there's an expectation you have to meet that is outside of your immediate vicinity. It's not just you.
100%.
You are, you're kind of not letting someone else down, but, you know, you are at least admitting to someone else, yes, I have failed to meet this deadline that we've agreed upon.
And honestly,
it makes it easier.
I've never thought about that in the same, like, streaming analogy you just gave, but, like, seriously, that really makes me hold myself accountable for different things. We've got a Discord called Live It, and it's we've got a lot of different areas in there. Like there's a fitness and nutrition thing. And so I'm really big on like trying to publicly announce like, hey, I'm going to try to do this. And I'll just say it. I'll put it on Twitter or whatever. And then even if nobody looks at that tweet or if nobody looks at that post, I'm very like, I put it out there. Now I got to do it. And so it's a really cool way of doing it, man. I like that.
Yeah, that's a big part of getting motivated is sort of taking, as you say, taking responsibility and announcing that you're going to do something, because that's the first step.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's like, I've said I'm going to do this. I now have a choice. I either go back on what I said or I do it.
Yeah. We've got a fan question for you. What is your favorite Dracula out of all the Dracula movies? And then they said they get Dracula and Lestrade mixed up. Dun, dun, dun. Do you have a favorite Dracula?
I'll confess something. I have never watched any version of Dracula unless you include Van Helsing. I have seen Van Helsing.
Oh, Van Helsing.
That is nothing like Dracula, but it is sort of inspired.
Yeah. What was I'm gonna throw my answer out in the ring here. Dracula Dead and Loving It, which was like an old 90s film. It was like a horrible comedy. Maybe not a horrible comedy, but it was the dudes that did like The Naked Gun, I think. I can't remember. Something Neeson or something? I can't remember. Either way, Dracula Dead and Loving It. Oh, a great 80s, maybe early 90s comedy Dracula take. Pretty funny. He didn't get a chance to watch Van Helsing. I made him. There you go. We got Chipliter. How do you pronounce that?
Yeah. That's Chip. That's my partner. She's lurking.
Yeah, there you go. Well, congrats and well done to you for making him watch Van Helsing. That movie was awesome. And it was Liam Neeson or Liam. Maybe I can't even.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. From like the guy from Taken, right?
Well, this is like a comedy, dude. I don't really remember. Jody's saying it's Liam. I've got no clue what his real name was. It's something like that, though. Chipliter. I like it. Nice. But yeah, man. I'm glad that you said that you're working on this Kingdom Hearts thing. That's a good new. Like, I've been wondering for a while what's next. Like, you've got the Final Fantasy IX retrospect, and I want to see more from you. So, like, I'm really excited to see Kingdom Hearts. In whatever form that takes shape, even if it's the size of the Bible, man, I will read this book. So,
as you know, it's not the size of the Bible; it's how thin the paper is.
True that. Jeez, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's not that big of a read, and then every sheet is just like single ply toilet paper thin. It's a 2,000-page book. It's gonna be rough. Nice. So you're giving yourself kind of like a December-ish deadline, maybe January? And
end of December, mid-January. I should hopefully finish it up and be able to start editing and redrafting if necessary. Get some beta readers involved at that point. And hopefully get it ready for release at maybe end of February. But it's very loose at this point. Like I haven't put up any pre-release information. I haven't even written the cover flap information yet.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's I've got a sort of concept design for the cover. I've designed it again because I'm just like, well, this worked the first time. I'll do it again.
Yeah, I'm just throwing this out there. I know a ton of graphic designers now, so if you do want help with it, but you did your own and it turned out great, and like, but that offer's always out there. So if you do want somebody to do it, I can hook you up, man.
I might take you up on that because I put this concept design together purely to sort of motivate me, so I could have a picture of what it will look like. I'm like, that's what I'm making.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stress the same way I did last time. Like at the worst case scenario, I have this to fall back on. I have made something.
Yeah, exactly. Man, we just got a massive raid from Jeanette Music, an amazing streamer. Thank you so much. And hello, everybody new. Yes, we're doing a podcast, and we've got guest Jamie Cruz on right now, and author of Melodies of Life, Final Fantasy IX Retrospect and Analysis. Guys, thank you all so much for coming in. Holy crap! That is insane. Sorry. I'm going to post really quick. This is Jamie's book in the link that I just posted in the chat. If anybody does want to check that out, please go check him out. Awesome author. It's been a great interview, man. Seriously, love talking to you.
It's been so much fun. Like, I stress out about these things. Like, especially, through COVID, it's just like interactions with people. Ugh.
Oh, I know.
But like, as I said to you before we went live, like, I was trusted in the energy that I know you're sort of like your signature energy. I'm like, it's going to carry us through, and it fucking has. I've had a great time.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Like, seriously, I just, I don't know. I like talking to people that I'm genuinely interested in. Like, so the pleasure is all mine, my friend. Well, heck yeah, man. So do you have anything that you would like to leave the people with, or like any kind of like last departing words you'd have for them?
Well, obviously, I'd like it if you bought my book and left a review. That would be awesome. But
Yes.
you do you. You can find that on, any Amazon region just by typing in Melodies of Life or my name, Jamie L. Cruz. Should be the top option on any search thing. For those of you that are big Final Fantasy IX fans, a friend of mine called Daniel Bartley is working on a novelization of Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, nice.
Which you can find on AO3, I believe. I think she goes by Goat of Gehenna. I can drop that in somewhere, I think.
Yeah,
but anyway, she's working on a novelization of Final Fantasy IX. It's, I think, 12 or 13 chapters in at the moment.
Oh, nice.
She's a very dedicated net fan. And she's currently producing an audiobook, a fan-made audiobook version of that novelization, which you can already find chapter 1 of on YouTube. Nice. So, follow her on Facebook, Twitter, or her YouTube channel if you're, into that. Or go give chapter 1 a listen, see if you like it. I think chapter 2 is coming out later this month. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah. And something I meant to mention to you really quick, with all the new stuff that they're doing with like the remake possibly or the remastering and then the TV show that they're talking about as well, do you feel like that's going to end up like sparking a lot of new interest in Melodies of Life?
I hope so. I mean, the talk about it was a French studio, wasn't it, that picked up Final Fantasy IX as a TV adaptation. I was hoping, because that was again around sort of May, June time, I think, that news dropped. And that was around the time that I had, I just had my spike in sales and stuff had actually started to pick up.
Yeah.
So I accredited some of that to that kind of hype and people being like, oh yeah, it's been ages since I've played Final Fantasy IX. The remake, I'm still on the fence about. I mean, it's yet to be officially confirmed.
Yeah.
But there's quite a bit of evidence that points to a forthcoming announcement. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion. I wasn't blown away by the treatment that Final Fantasy VII's remake got, and that's purely because of how I play games and enjoy games. Like I come for the story, and having such a great story from 7 broken down so much.
Oh yeah.
And spread out over so much time. Like, this is coming from a Kingdom Hearts fan. Like, you can tell me to stick it up my ass. Like,
no, I totally agree with that, man.
But like with 9, I think adding voice acting scares me a little bit.
Because you've got that in your head, like that who he is, who they are, what they sound like.
Exactly. With 7 remake, at least we had Advent Children and Dirge Cerberus to go off. Like, was, okay, these characters sound right. And I guess we have some voice actors from the Dissidia games for Zidane and Kuja, but at the same time, like, I love this game as it is, and as much as I love the fact that the game's getting attention and we could see a new iteration of it, I'm worried that it won't be something that I like.
yeah.
I'm like, I'd try it. I'd absolutely pre-order it day one. I will give it a go, but I care too much about it to be blindly optimistic about what's going to happen. to the level that it's like, you know, if it turned out it wasn't true, I'd be like, I'm okay with this. I love this game as it is.
Yeah, yeah. And so I honestly I feel like a lot of people were that same way with 7. Like there's notably like Night Sky Prince like does not like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and there's a lot of people that share that opinion, man. Like it's first, like my brother, I think whenever he first bought it, he had no clue that it only went to like through Midgar. Yeah, he had no clue. He's like, wait a second, what? I was like, dude, that was like 80 hours of gameplay probably, you know? But
for 5 hours of the original story
yeah,
or whatever it
yeah.
was, it was just like, for me, it's like the gameplay it you know,
yeah,
it keeps you hooked. It makes you work for the story.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you're working 80 hours
it's rough for
for 5 hours worth of actual
segment
story content.
Yeah. Yes, I could definitely imagine. I'm kind of hoping that it's more of a like a remastering more than a reimagining like 7 was, you know? Because as much as I love it, and I feel like we're getting like different new content with 7 Remake, I feel like there's some new stuff that they're gonna like kind of maybe breathing some new life into that story or giving us more perspectives to it. At the same time, I'm like terrified that they're gonna screw up the game that is like my freaking childhood, and so I'm like, I don't know, you know, if Final Fantasy 7 Part 2 comes out and it's like turds, I'm gonna be like, you should just left it alone.
I've got a question for you now. I'm turning the tables.
Oh,
like
here
Part 2, there's a lot of speculation about both Zack and Aerith surviving in this iteration, and that to me was like a massive red flag. I'm like, what do you mean? What?
How's this gonna work? Yeah. I don't know.
What are your feelings on that? Because like that for me is just like, I think I'm at the point now where it's like, I think I'm okay to sit out the next parts until the whole thing is out.
I mean, like, I don't know, being a streamer, I'm probably just going to go into it unwillingly. Like, I learned my lesson the hard way, though. Do not stream it the first time. Like, play through the game at my own time and don't stream it. Because I feel like streaming it almost in a sense, like, ruined my first take of Final Fantasy Remake. Because, like, I mean, there was a lot of really cool parts, but I was like, I really try to be very talkative to the chat and stuff. And so I was just
so you weren't fully immersed, and you weren't actually able to like explore and just like take in the scenery. This is a pretty game.
There's one scene in particular, like when you're in the Shinra Tower and they're like re-seeing the Sintra and like it's showing that, and Sephiroth comes in and there's like freaking flaming tornadoes and all that, like just destroying Midgar. I was like, and I think I like just turned my chat to like a BRB screen and I was like, it's like the coolest thing that I'd seen in a video game for a while, and I was like, no, I can't even. But I agree though. I think that like I honestly would rather just be able to sit it out and then be able to see it all at once. And I don't know if that's like the Netflix like era of consuming stuff is now, but I totally agree. Like I'd rather wait. And as far as like if Zack and Aerith both survive, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird. Because Zack, I don't know. Like, I love Zack's character and stuff. And he was amazing in
Crisis Core,
Yeah, Crisis Core. He's so good. And, like, but, I mean, it's like the alternate timeline, I feel like makes it a lot less meaningful. Like, the story. Knowing that there's one timeline he lived and there's another that he died. So it's like whatever happens in this one's kind of irrelevant because there's this one over here. And I'm like, so, I don't know.
Such a bugbear about timelines and sort of changing things. It's just like, where are the stakes? Why, you know, from a writing standpoint, it's like, where's my reason as you know, part of the audience to care? It's just like, the worst happens, undo it, go to a different timeline, doesn't matter. Like, you know, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of heartbroken when Zack died at the end of Crisis Core, because I hadn't played the original, and you know, if you played the original, you're like, well, Zack doesn't survive. He's not in the story.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just like, that's a big dick move. They just killed the main character.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. See, that's why I'm like, I'm envious of the way that you were able to like see the entire story of Final Fantasy VII post Final Fantasy VII Remake. So That's
it's
awesome.
nuts. Sort it in chronological order.
That is really cool, man. I mean, like, I guess it's like now maybe like our parents might like relate that to like Star Wars or something like that. You know, like we grew up in the Anakin phase or something, and then we got to see the other stuff. But dude, like being able to see Crisis Core first, yeah, I bet you're like, oh my god, you just what? And Cloud, who's this dude, anyways? Like, jeez.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, he's the dude with the big sword, but Zack's got the big sword now.
Yeah,
Except and Jill had it first. Like,
yeah, man. I actually just went through and had to get an emulator to replay through it. But dude, it's such a good game. It still holds up now. Like I think that game is great. And there's some weird like the combat system I wasn't huge on, but the story makes up for any gameplay flaws I think that there are.
100%.
But yeah, man. Well, seriously, I cannot wait to start seeing some news on your Kingdom Hearts freaking retrospect book. And like, I'm going to be sending some positive vibes your way because I know you've got a freaking mountain to climb in front of you. So like,
you know how we were talking before we went on about, you know, the sort of calm face of being a point away from meltdown.
Yes. Yeah, dude. That's the way it is, man. But I think that makes for some of the better writers, you know. I think that is what it is.
Well, if you're not pushing yourself, what's the point, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, heck yes, brother. Again, thank you so freaking much for coming on here. You have been a blessing to have on, and I'm gonna post all of your links in the description on the YouTube channel, and then thank you. Man, we got this. I'm so stoked, and I'm going to try to stay up to date. Anybody that's following here on my Twitter and all those, I'm going to be posting links to all of your stuff, and we'll see if we can't stay up to date on the Kingdom Hearts book that's coming out. But I'd love to have you back on to talk about
this. This is as close to an official announcement as there has ever been, and that was not the intent when we started.
I know. I like, man. Our last interview that we had, I had a musician of mine that I'm like a really big fan of this musician, and he might have told us that they're putting out a new album in December. He was like, I haven't even told anybody that, and I was like, ha ha ha. But
yeah, I got it on stream.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty funny.
But you know, that's accountability. It's now on the record.
Look, yeah, exactly. There you go, guys. We're gonna have to slide into his DMs every once in a while and be like, how's that Kingdom Hearts story coming out? So. Gotta keep his toes.
Leave me alone.
I'm going mad. Yes. Nice.
No, for real, I won't be mean to anyone who DMs me about anything.
No, dude, genuinely, you're an amazing, awesome, nice person, and I'm freaking so thankful that you got on here, brother.
Thank you for having me. I've had an amazing time.
Heck yes, man. Well, you take it easy, and we'll catch you later, my brother.
Thanks, man.
Toodles.
Take it easy.
All right, guys. Jamie freaking Cruz. What an awesome dude. Like, legit, really nice guy. That was such a fun conversation. And I'm going to post this again just in case anybody didn't get on there. But please go check that out. That's the UK version of Amazon. So you can actually select to go to a different country. So if you're from the US, you can just go to that link. You can go to the United States. That's actually the same link that I got my copy from here. Boom. Awesome dude. Cannot say enough good about that guy. Thank you guys so much for coming on here. And Jeanette, I don't know if you're still here or not. And all your viewers, thank y'all so much. A 44-person raid, guys. Freaking nuts. Thank y'all so freaking much for coming by here. Thank y'all for all the follows. Let me go back through here and read some follows. Thank you. T-Mac Music, thank you so much for the follow. And let's see. Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry if I missed anybody while you guys came through. That is not my intention to miss y'all. I try to stay very engaged with the chat, but just whenever we have a podcast on, I try to really give all my attention, like vocally, to my to the guest that we've got on, to not be rude, and I will definitely chat in text on here. But again, guys, thank y'all so much for being on here. Thank you again, Jamie, for being on here. We'll be posting this on YouTube. It should be up tomorrow. And yeah, let's find somebody to raid out to. Does anybody have a suggestion of who we could hit with a raid? A raid!